we have something up here to deal with, briefly, which are about the exceptions to the rules. Now again, you've been learning about the rules all day. We spent some time doing nonverbal exercises. We spent some time doing verbal exercises, learning how to generate rapport with absolutely anybody. You even got some auditory feedback, which you can then use when you're on the phone with people to adjust your own natural speaking to theirs more closely so that they feel more comfortable talking with you. There is one grand exception, one type of person that may confound you out there. And some people, Yvette, may be good examples here in the room of these kinds of behavior patterns. But I will tell you that you are in good company because there are many polarity responders in the world. And the label doesn't apply to you in all circumstances, obviously. So it's a false label. It's just a descriptor of some of your behaviors in some circumstances. Now, the reason I enjoy talking about polarity responders so much is because my wife is a polarity responder. And so is her brother. So the entire household is a household of, or not mine, but theirs, is a household of polarity responders. They grew up in that environment, and that's what was generated. Well, polarity responder essentially means that somebody's going to take the polar opposite response to whatever you suggest, or to whatever you propose, or to whatever you say. Another way of describing it is you may have a very clear internal frame of reference of what's right for you, and someone else, if you tell them what your opinion is, they don't care what your frame of reference is. They don't care how you think it should go. It's not what you think, it's what I think, right? They have the opposite response, the internal frame. Well, the polarity responder is difficult to gain rapport with at times, because if you match them, what are they going to do? Mismatch. And that's their method of generating rapport, only you think you're actually losing rapport, but you're actually getting rapport. Okay? Scott and Yvette were in rapport when they were doing the exercise, only they weren't sitting remotely like each other. Scott was leaning forward, Yvette was leaning back. But they were in constant rapport because there were elements of their communication where they were totally in sync. Facial expressions, hand motions, that sort of thing. Okay?
So while one was leaning forward and one was leaning back, they were both leaning.
Yes. Right.
Okay.
But also, one's legs was crossed, one's legs was open. You can't make judgments about it. All you can say is there's great differences there, and Yvette manufactured them. Okay? But that's her natural way. Okay? My wife is the same way. Now, interestingly, yes, you can get rapport with polarity responders, but not intuitively, not by doing all of what these rules are. So instead of matching a polarity responder, what you do is you mismatch them. Okay? Aha! Wisdom kicks in, right? Okay. The light bulb. Ding!
I know a polarity responder, too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Waiting for the key.
So the key is a sense of perfect judgment, and the timing is going to be up to you. Here's what happens. If you sit down next to a polarity responder and you try to get rapport with them by matching, they're going to mismatch. Okay? So how do you get them to match you? You mismatch them. So if I sit down next to my wife, I adopt a position that's diametrically opposed to what hers is. And I'll actually lean away from her a little bit. And then she'll lean towards me and maybe lean onto me and put her arm around me, or put her arm on me, or put her hand on my knee or whatever while we're watching TV. But I won't sit exactly like her or facing her. Because if I do, she's going to turn away. It gets better, okay? So once I do that and she turns towards me, if I then turn towards her immediately, she'll turn away. So when she turns towards me to try and generate rapport, I do something different. After I do something different, she may try and match me, she may not. However, there's a certain moment when the matching and the mismatching games turn, and a sense of warmth is felt. That's all I'll describe it as. Sometimes in my back, sometimes in my solar plexus. There's a shift in the sensations. And at that moment, I can then match her, and she won't mismatch. But I don't calibrate to her and what she's doing physically in terms of her body structures or her posture. I check myself, because there's a moment, and I've trained myself to know when that moment is. And it causes a shift inside my kinesthetics, inside my feelings. And when my feelings shift, I recognize that as a signal that at an unconscious level, I'm turning towards my responses that will optimize the rapport situation. So there's a moment with every polarity responder where you can begin matching and they will continue matching you, and that leads to greater depth of rapport and intimacy and